Welcome kindreds, it's Jessica the Story Witch, and this is video number 2 in our bullet journal series that I'm doing for everyone to kind of plan together and get their bullet journal set up together. You probably will have already seen the introduction video where I was talking about what we're going to be covering in this video. This video is going to be the one that is about the practical resources that we are going to be using in our journals, or I will be using, and you can choose to use whatever you want to use in yours, but just some ideas and inspiration. So just really briefly before we start talking about the actual journal and things that we're going to be using in the journals, I'm going to be using in my journal, I wanted to just talk about the difference between bullet journaling and just regular journaling. For a very long time I've been journaling. I am a journaler. I have been since I've been about, I think, 9 or 10 years old. And I've got sort of like mounds of journals going back for ages and ages, because for me, writing things down is how I kind of make sense of things. So it was just a natural thing. But those journals, if you look at them, are just, you can never find anything that you want in them again. They weren't useful from a point of view of like an organisation of life point of view or day-to-day planning. They literally were like a pile my thoughts, pile my ideas out onto the page. And I was journaling like that for years and years and years. It's only been the last few years, the last, I think, 3 years probably, and 3.5, I guess, because I started a little bit before that, but I kind of transitioned then into bullet journaling, and it has absolutely completely changed the way that I journal, and has made my journaling now so much more useful, and has enabled me to actually use my journal as a kind of magical journal / book of shadows / grimoire, whatever you want to call it. Whereas before, even though I was recording things like meditations and things that I've been doing, any workings I've been doing, they were so like potted in amongst all the rest of the stuff, I could never find anything again. So those stacks of journals I've just got like in boxes in my eaves in the attic, and I am hoping, God knows when, maybe when my kids have grown up, to go back through those journals and to start pulling things out of them and seeing, because you know, it's interesting reading old journals and seeing how your thoughts on things have changed, or where your thoughts have stayed the same, and how the way you do things has changed or stayed the same, you know, things like that. So I definitely think there's still value in those journals and in journaling like that. But the bullet journal system has, like I said, it's completely kind of revolutionised the way that I now use my journal. So what's the difference? That's what I wanted to talk about a little bit, is that with a bullet journal, when I first started, I bought this book. Oh, it's a bit too bright in the light to be able to see it. So How to Bullet Plan. In fact, I'm going to turn that light down because I'm going to be showing some stuff and you're not going to be able to see any of the things I'm showing, which will be really annoying. So How to Bullet Plan. I don't particularly recommend this. There are a few more books out there now on bullet journaling. This one was quite new. Yeah, this one came out in 2017. So I started finding out about it. Mainly I saw people on Instagram posting things, and then I went on the bullet journal. There's like an official bullet journal website which explains the system. And all that it is really is using bullet points in your journaling, but there are a few other aspects of it which make it more handy as well. So one of the things that has made a massive difference is having at the start of the journal, it has an index. Oh, things are falling out of my journal. What was that? I'll have to pick that back up in a minute. So I mean, this book has got an index in it. I'm gonna have to turn that light completely off, I think, you're not going to be able to see. No, you still can't see. It's because of the window. That's really annoying. I wonder if I can shield it somehow. If I hold it back here. No, that's not going to work either. Really annoying. I'll turn the light back on and try and... Okay, so I realised filming it like I was trying to kind of facing the camera was not going to work, so I've turned the camera around. Hopefully this will be a better way of doing it anyway. So bullet journals usually have an index, and if they don't, then you can just obviously leave pages at the front for your index. So the one that I like to use is called a Leichsturm 1917, and that has an actual ready-in index. And obviously if you've got an index where you're putting page numbers in, what it also has is page numbers at the bottoms of each of the pages. Again, you don't have to buy one with page numbers, but it is handy. When I first started, I didn't want to splash out on a more expensive planner, and I did enjoy using Moleskines a lot then, or Moleskines, and they don't have page numbers, or at least the ones that I was using didn't have page numbers in them, so I was just literally numbering by hand the pages, which is not like I didn't sit there and do the whole book in one go. I just used to do like sort of 10 pages ahead of myself at a time, so it's totally possible to do that. And if you were halfway through a planner or a notebook and you're thinking you want to use it as a bullet journal, you could just literally start numbering from where you are then, and then create an index either in the front or in the back. It doesn't matter, as long as you know where it is. Then so it's that kind of referenceability of it. And then the other thing about a bullet journal is that you use bullet points. So every day when I set up my days, I do a day to a page, so because I like to have a whole page for each day, but you don't have to do it like that. Lots of people do like a week on a page layout, or however it's going to work for you, or just do like their weekly tasks and things like that. And you use bullet points so you can then cross them off when you've done the tasks that you need to do for the day. Obviously, because this is my magical journal as well, I include other information like my daily tarot draw for the day, the moon phase, the moon sign, a rune pull if I've done a rune pull for that day, and I also do a bit of journaling and things like that as well. So you have that extra information, but every day I have these bullet points, or if it's an event, I use a triangle. Now, different people use different symbols. Let me show you in here, in this book, which is the one that I showed at the start. But if you go on, like on Pinterest, on Instagram and stuff like that, now you don't actually need to buy a book at all. Let's see, she's got a few options of systems that you can use. So yeah, basically a bullet journal is like a blank journal. Some people on my bullet journal videos are like, how where did you buy the journal set up like that? It's like, no, I'm setting it up like this, which is what I love about it, is it's a completely blank book, and then you can set it up exactly how you want. So here she's talking about the different symbols. So you could use like, I like to use a dot, because then once I've done it, I actually cross it out. And if I've kind of half done it, I half cross it out. If it's an event, I use a triangle, and then I colour in that event. So here we go. Here's a couple of options of keys here. So a dot could be to do, an X could be done. Migrated, which just means you've decided you're not going to do it that day, or haven't got round to doing it that day. So you just put a little arrow to show that you're going to put it in for a different day instead. Schedules means you've actually scheduled it in for a different day, so you've noted it in. I don't use that, to be honest. I just do migrated and actually make sure I've written it down either on my month planner or on my kind of annual to-do list. I also don't use started either. The cross she's got here is forget about it, but I use that as a started. So if I've done a part of that task, I'll put a line through it that way, and then once I've completed it, I'll do a line the opposite way as well. And then some people like to have like a color code and things. With these, to be honest, this is a different way. So you could have a box for to do, and then when you've colored it in, it's done. Scheduled, started, cancelled. If mine's cancelled, I just draw a line through the dot. And also if you want to make notes, I was using this first of all to make a line if you're going to make a note instead, but I don't actually do that now. I just make my notes in like a separate part of my page. What I will say is, if you can try and keep your system really simple, and what you might find is that what you've planned as your beautiful system for your bullets, you'll actually find that it's just not workable, especially if you're doing things with like different colours and stuff like that. The more simple it is, the more likely you are to actually use it and, well, to use it and to stick with it, This is quite a simple system as well. So a circle to do, coloured in a circle to done, migrated like that, scheduled like that, started, cancelled. You can find these kind of keys on Pinterest and, well, lots of places now. Pinterest is probably the best. If you go on Pinterest and look for bullet journal stuff, oh my gosh, there is so much stuff over on there now. But yeah, maybe I should make a board perhaps for information like this, which I'll try and remember to do that. But yeah, if you just go over there anyway and have a look. But keep it simple and be open to it evolving, because originally I had like a key which I'd penciled into the front of my diary, but I just wasn't sticking with that, and I found that a simpler system worked best for me. So I only use the bullet section for my kind of mundane, well, not always mundane, because sometimes the things on my list are like spell work and stuff, but for my like to-do list, then, you know, I use this bullet system for that, and then I tend to just journal the rest of it, and that's what works for me. But you'll find what works for you anyway. I do the same thing in my calendar pages, so I use the same system. So if I've got like an event on, like I've got here the dentist, so I've got a triangle and I make the note of the event. Or if I've got a to-do, then like here today I'm filming all of the Buju series videos, or at least I'm going to try to, apart from the lives obviously, then, you know, I put those as my dots of things to do. So I hope that makes sense of like the difference between just regular journaling and bullet journaling. You know, bullet journals tend to look different because they obviously do have kind of like different layouts. They have calendar layouts, they have trackers and stuff like that. But that stuff is all kind of extra. It is the use of bullets and the use of like setting up a to-do list or a daily page that makes it a bullet journal. And like I said about using the index and the page numberings, those are the things that make it function as a bullet journal. So those are kind of like the fundamental bits. So I'm not going to say any more about like bullet journaling. I'm going to talk about the actual resources that I'm going to use while I'm doing this series, and show you some ideas of things that you might want to use while you're doing this series. So like I said, the journal is the one that probably lots of people ask me about the most. This is my new journal that I'm going to be using for 2019 for doing these setups. It's a Leuchtturm 1917 dotted, which means it has very light dots on the pages, which I hope you can see, and that means it makes it a lot easier for if you're writing. It makes it easier because you can kind of stay on the lines, and it also makes it easier if you're going to be drawing out like calendar pages. I just put my old one back down, but you know, like I do these sort of calendar pages, having those dots means it's much easier to kind of plan out it's a grid basically, isn't it? So it's giving you that kind of layout for the grid. Now, I love these because even though I was resistant at first because of the price of them, I've just found the paper. I love that it's got the index page already there. I love that it's already page numbered. And I love that the paper can hold, it can hold light watercolour, it can hold fountain pen, it can hold brush pens. So it's useful from that point of view, you know, that it is, I'm trying to move the light so you can actually see it a little bit better. It's good quality paper. These ones are, in the UK, these are £12.99 usually. Different colours are sometimes more or less expensive. If you can get like a kind of, you can get cheaper ones sometimes if they're like an end of line on a colour. This is just royal blue, which I've decided to use for my journals for next year. So I'll be buying a few of these, however many I need for the year. I don't buy them in advance usually. I make sure I choose a colour that's not like a kind of trend colour. It's going to be there for the year. And I chose royal blue because my word for next year is going to be sovereign. So I felt royal blue tied in well with that. So yeah, that is my journal. Some other options. Previously, like I said, I've used a Moleskine, which is totally well as well. I'm trying to find one in my stack of more recent journals, which is getting higher. Let's see, was this a Moleskine? Yeah, so a Moleskine is slightly smaller. And oh, well, there's a good example of this. These ones are not page numbered, so I had to number them as I went along. Though I think they do have, I think they do page numbers as well. And this was when I was doing a more just regular journaling type of journaling, you know. So I went for lines there. So that makes more sense to me then, because the lines, I wasn't needing to use the dots because I wasn't doing drawing and grid work and type of stuff like that. I mean, obviously you can make calendar pages and stuff with lines as well. That's not a problem at all. But having the dots, I find, is better because it doesn't kind of interfere so much with when you're doing your calendar pages. Some people like to use completely blank as well. Like if you're going to do really kind of arty type pages, or if you're going to do a lot of collage, you might find a completely blank book works well. Some other options that are available, they're a bit cheaper. This was one I got off Amazon, which is an A5 dotted notebook. This is a soft cover as opposed to the hard cover of the Leuchtturm. It's the same sort of size, a little bit bigger actually, slightly bigger. And it has page numbers. The dots are more spaced apart. So this one I actually bought for my daughter because she likes to do bullet journaling as well. This one was about £3. So you can obviously buy much cheaper ones, but the paper is that bit thinner. The grid is bigger, so you have to kind of adapt that to what you want to be doing. And there's less pages overall. But I think it was, you know, that's not horrible at all. And obviously at that price, that's really good. And you couldn't even make your own cover for it to slot into then, you know. And if you were just kind of looking to try out the system, something like that might be really good before you kind of commit to, if you don't want to spend the money on something like this. Like I said, this is about £13, which I expect is probably like about $15. I'm not sure what it would be over on Amazon.com. This is another make, and I bought this one for my kind of, I do have another journal that I kind of, my sort of scrappy journal that I also make notes in if I don't want to be writing in my main journal. Sometimes I put like sort of writing ideas, poetry ideas and things like that in that kind of scruff journal. The one I used for this year was literally just like a different hardback notebook. But when I saw these, I thought these would be good to show you guys on here as potentially to use as bullet journals, because it does have an index. It has a nice tight grid. I think it's the same size grid as in the Leuchtturm. You can see the paper difference here. The paper's cream in the Leuchtturm, but it is white in here. And it's good, you know, it's fairly good quality paper. This one was, I think, was like £9. So obviously not super cheap, but lots of pages in here. 160 pages, and it's got a pen loop, it's got the elastic to go around, you know, it's got lots of nice features about it, and is that little bit cheaper if you were, and it's hardback as well. I also kind of like this design as well. I thought it was kind of funky on the front. And they did have different versions of this. So really it's a case of trying it and seeing what you like. I haven't got any different sized ones here now to show you, but some people like to use an even smaller book. Or some people like to use an A4, like sketchbook type book. It's going to be literally whatever is, you know, whatever's going to work for you. So yeah, so don't worry too much about it. If you've already got, so if you're kind of thinking about the system and you don't want to splash out a load of money, then don't. They say, I read somewhere, it might have been in that book actually I showed you earlier, that most people hate their first 100 pages anyway. I know now when I look back at my first, when I was kind of transitioning into doing bullet journaling, I think, oh my gosh, you know, and I still feel like that sometimes about some of my month spreads and stuff now. You know, sometimes things work, sometimes they don't work, and that's totally fine. You can just turn the page and do something different. You know, that's what's so great about the system. You're not tied into doing it a particular way forever. You can use your creativity and you can change it up and do whatever you need to do. So if you've already got a book, maybe use that. If you want to buy a book specifically, have a look at what's available where you are. You might find as well, sometimes if you go to like stationers, they'll have discounted books with the dot grids and stuff. If they're like selling off end of lines and things, you might be able to pick one up there as well. So it doesn't really matter. I just wanted to share the one, like that is one I'm going to definitely be using. I like the kind of colour kind of went with that as well. So that's going to be my kind of scruff journal, and this one is going to be my actual magical journal, my bullet journal for this year. So that's the journal itself. The only other thing you strictly need is a pen. Although obviously I do use lots of other different pens and things like that as well. So now I'm going to show you some of the pens I use. So let me grab this pot. So on my desk I keep the pots of my favourite pens I like to use, and this one I've got millions of the same one in here, and that's because this one is like one of my absolute favourites. This is a Muji, I don't actually know what it's called. I think it's just like a fine liner, and it's a 0.38 tip. I can hear my son doing ninja moves downstairs. That's not too distracting. And what I love about this is that it's so, because the line of the pen is so thin, it's so fine, it's just great for doing really tiny writing. You can really write really small without it, without it being a problem. I was always like, how are people managing these really tiny intricate things? It was because they're using really, really fine tip pens. And if you do enjoy doing kind of drawing, you can do really cool kind of fine line drawings with this as well, and make it really, you can do that. And then you could use some watercolor to kind of flesh out, although these do smudge if you use water over the top of them, so sometimes it's better to do the watercolor first and then use your fine liner over the top of it. But for writing, those are the ones that I like to use for my writing in, especially in the monthly calendar pages, because you haven't got a huge space for writing in. That's really great. Some other ones that I like as well, this is a Uniball Eye fine liner, which it says is a fine liner, but it's much bigger than, does it say what size it is on here? It's much bigger than that. You probably think this crazy person. If you're a pen lover, then you will know that it does make a difference when you see these lines together. I probably should have written something in it, and then you'll be able to see better the difference between the sort of thickness of the pens. So it looks virtually the same, but this one is thicker, and this one is even thicker. This is a Pilot G2. This is a 0.7. I like this one for kind of doing headings and things like that. It's more robust, that line, it does kind of stand out more, so it's good for doing headings and things. These are quite nice. This is a flamingo fine liner, and it's got a fine line end. Oh, this one's running out. I hardly ever use these because the other end, which is like a brush pen, is great for standing out, but it does tend to show through. It hasn't done it too badly there, and if you do it quickly in your journal, it won't show through, but if you do kind of leave the pen on for too long, it will bleed through. But that's a flamingo fine liner there. My daughter tends to use these as well, and then they get kind of a bit knackered a bit quickly. What other blacks have I got? This is a Papermate Ink Joy 0.5. So 0.5, so it's a bit thicker than the Muji. But that's really nice to write with. So like if you're doing a whole page of writing, that feels really lovely to write with. If I'm writing up like a spread or something like that, I might use a tarot spread or something, something like that. I might use that. I've also got this white Signo, which is one that Amber in Wonderland recommended for me. So that is a Uniball as well. Where's that other Uniball gone? So yeah, this is a Uniball Eye, but this is a Uniball Signo. This is white, so you're not going to be able to see it actually on here now, but it's lovely. This is almost like a gel pen, so stuff actually comes out of this, so you can write on the top of white, of black, or of different colours, and that stands out really nice. So that's a handy one to have as well. Obviously, you don't need all of these pens. These are just what I like. This is nice as well, these jelly rolls, Sakura jelly roll pens. They make these in all these lush colours, and oh, this one's, no, it's not running out, it's just the way I'm using it. So these, they make them in gorgeous kind of like metallic-y colours, and you can use these just for writing as well, but I tend to use them for like highlighting and for doing headings and things like that as well. Let's put those back in there. What else? Oh, good old Steitlers. Or even Bics, Bic crystals. They can be nice for writing with. They come in lots of different colours. They're a good thickness, and also because they do come in lots of different colours, on the top of that's gone a bit scruffy. Oop. Because they do come in lots of different colours, they are really nice to use as headings and kind of dividing lines, or if you're doing any doodles and things like that, they're cool. And these I also like as well, which are Jetstreams, Uniball Jetstreams, and they're like a little bit thinner than the Pilot ones. And these are quite nice as well, these Stabilo fine liners. In fact, that's not a Stabilo, I don't think. I think that's like a fake Stabilo. But they're quite nice. But you have got to watch with these sometimes with bleeding through as well, if you go too kind of thick on it. That's a really fine, that's a, oh no, 0.5, I thought that was 0.3 then a minute. But yeah, lots of these pens you probably already have around the house. So just gather up what you've got, and then you can see if you want to use a particular colour theme or whatever, you can see what these, that's another Papermate Inkjoy. They make those, so I showed you that one in the black, but they make those in lots of beautiful colours as well. So you can get them in all different colours, which are nice too. So yeah, collect what you've got, and then if you want to add to that, then obviously do so. I'm going to have a quick swig of tea before it completely goes cold. Yeah, you can add to it then if you want to, because some of these pens are expensive. A lot of the ones I've shown so far are not actually, but the ones I'm going to show you next are more expensive because these are kind of like artist pens. So here are some of the colours, and I've got a set of greys as well. These are Tombow dual brush art pens basically, and they're called dual brush because they've got like a brush pen on the one side which you can use to do kind of lettering like that. Not like that though, because that's rubbish, but you have to practice it. When I bought these pens, I was like, oh, I'm going to buy these pens and my handwriting's suddenly going to be beautiful, but actually you do have to practice. And I have been practicing, but it's still not great, you know. And then it's got the other brush on the other end, which is like a finer point, which is cool because that kind of goes with that. So sometimes it's nice to use both of those in a spread together, and it, especially if you're doing like a calendar page, you might use this to do like kind of thicker lines at the top, and then that to draw the grid lines out, and that looks really cool. And like I said, these literally come, I think there's like over 100 colours of these pens, so you can use them for all sorts of things. You can also use them like to do a heading line, and then take one of your other pens and write within that, you know, to make a kind of nice standout header. But what you have got to watch is that if you do it the other way around, like I said, because most of the kind of ink pens you'll normally use, it will smudge it. So yeah, it's much better to do the highlighting first, whereas, you know, with a more traditional highlighter you can obviously highlight afterwards and it doesn't smudge your pen. Let's pop those back there. I've also got a whole bunch of those in different shades of grey, which I find quite useful because I do use different shades of grey quite a lot. You can buy the Tombows in packs, which makes them a bit cheaper, but you can also buy them individually. And lots of stations, actually, we've got the Works here in the UK, and I'm sure like in some of the stores in America that you can buy them individually, so you can just choose the exact colours that you want. So I've kind of added these to my collection over time rather than buying a bunch of them up front. So, because yeah, it would be super expensive, although a good Christmas present perhaps. This is another Tombow. But this is Tombow Sidanowski. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it, but it is a calligraphy pen, so it's a bit smaller tipped than the other Tombows, but you can use this for doing kind of making a mess of it now, trying to do it on top of here. But yeah, it's kind of smaller, so you can do more tighter kind of calligraphy with that, but it's still a lot thicker than the normal kind of black pens that you get. But you do have to watch with that sometimes if you kind of stay too long on a place, whether it's going to come through. You can also use just like a regular fountain pen, and that works very nicely on the Leuchtturm. Again, my fountain pen, I hardly ever use it, and so it ends up drying out. I have just changed the cartridge because I was trying it out for another video, but for some reason it's just not loving it. I think it's just it doesn't love it because it doesn't get a lot of use, love it. So it gets a bit jammed up. Oh, there we go, it is going to work. So you can do, I keep trying to do it over the edge of this thing, which is really not helpful, is it? So yeah, it's just a regular fountain pen is nice as well, and like thickness wise, that is quite thick, but you can obviously buy different thickness of nibs. You can even buy different nibs for
actual fountain pens. So fountain pens also fine. Pencils are also fine. You know, you literally can use whatever you like to do it. Other kind of artist pens that I like as well are these Faber-Castell Pitt artist pens. These have just got one brush on the one end, and it's a slightly thinner brush than the Tombow. So again, you know, you can do kind of calligraphy with that, but it's not as fat and kind of sprawly as the Tombow pens are. Let's compare that with that. So you can see like the brush size is much bigger on the Tombow than it is on the Faber-Castell. This is a proper pen geek out video. I hope this is gonna like be interesting, guys, and not just like a complete like, what is she talking about? I don't need to talk about the pens all that much. I usually forget. What else have I got here? I'm just kind of looking on my desk what I've got. I've also got these zebra mild liners, which are nice. These have got like a kind of square edge on the one end, so you can do kind of like thick lines, and you can also use that edge to help you get kind of effects in the writing, which I've not done very well there at all. And then the other end, they've got a thinner point, so you can do that as well, you know. So they're quite handy, and they usually can be used on top. You have just got to be a little bit careful. The squareness of those makes them quite nice for doing like straight title lines, which then you might want to, you know, kind of write your title on top of, kind of thing. So yeah, they're nice for that as well. Again, I think they're pretty reasonably priced. You can get a pack of them for not too much money. So I think that's it for pens. It's handy to kind of like have a scissors, and I find these kind of things quite handy. I actually stole these from my daughter. We bought a pile of these. These are just like little grips, which you can use to mark your pages, which is handy. So like when I've got some of my trackers that I use a lot, I tend to keep them with like one side of the grip up, so I can easily find them when I'm flicking through my diary. You can also use it to like pinch a couple of pages together if you've got something that you don't want people to easily be able to find if they do find your diary. So yeah, they're quite handy, and they're obviously really cheap. You can get really fancy, beautiful ones of those as well, especially if you look on Etsy and places like that. Good old-fashioned paper clips are handy because you can mark pages out with those, or again you can clip pages together. You can get these as well with little embellishments on them. You could make your own little embellishments. You just make like a double-sided thing and then stick it so it pokes out at the top, and you can find the page that you're looking for really easily. So they're handy to have, and like most people have got paper clips. My favourite glue to use is these Pritt sticks, which they're all over the UK, but I think in America, I think there's like Elmer's glue sticks that are very similar to this, and so they're handy because you can literally just stick it on and it literally sticks straight away, and there's no kind of liquidy mess which might go through to the other side of the page. I also use this for when I make mistakes, which is quite often. A little Tipp-Ex mouse, so you can kind of just roll it over your mistake and it's like it never happened. Apart from, obviously that's white, and the journal is that I like to use is creamer pages. You can see it, but you know, I don't nitpick like that. It's not a big deal for me. And what else might you want to use? Washi, which is basically like masking tape, and you know, these are everywhere now. You can buy all sorts of gorgeous washis. This one's not loving life at the moment, but you know, you can even get these in like pound shops and stuff now. It's great because you can tear it, stick it on something, and then you can easily just tear it straight back off again, and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't rip anything, it doesn't leave a mark. We use these now for like sticking up pictures in the house on the walls and stuff, so it doesn't take the paint off and stuff as well. And you can get all sorts of gorgeous different designs and colours, and it can become a very expensive habit very quickly if you're not careful. Although because it is getting much more popular, you can find it in lots more places now. Originally it was just in Japan. Like, look at that one, I haven't even opened that one yet, but that's so cute, all those little dogs. So yeah, there's that, which is handy. Oh, and that's just reminded me of something else that I use that I like, but like I said, none of this stuff is a have to. It's all just kind of nice to have. So what I use a lot as well is stamps. I got this gorgeous set of garden stamps, which my friend Matilda gave me for my birthday, and I love this. I use these I use these daily in my journal, and you can just get different ink pads and create with them. And obviously, like, once you've bought the stamps once, you've got them forever then. So unlike stickers, which is another thing that people love to use, and I love to use as well, but I tend to use the stamps more than stickers because the stamps are more environmentally friendly, and like I say, once you've got them once, you can just use them again and again and again and again. So yeah, that might be something you want or have. People do make their own stamps as well, which is really cool. I've got these moon face stamps, which unfortunately are no longer available from the seller that I bought them from, but I use these daily in my journal as well, and I got that little silver ink pad there that I use with those. Oh, I've got a visitor. I'm filming a video a minute. My daughter's just coming in to see what I'm up to. So yes, you could make your own. Apparently it's quite straightforward. I've never have done it, but I can see, like, I've made stamps with other things, like, you know, like potato prints and things like that as well. So you could obviously do that kind of thing, or with sponges and stuff, you know. So I imagine it is not that tricky, but I tend to use the ones that I've already got. So that is all good. Is there anything else? I'm trying to look around to see what else do I use. Okay, so the other major thing that I use in my journal is I use like ephemera. I use bits and pieces from other sources. So I usually use like diaries and planners and calendars and things which I've kind of built up over the years. Also, if you're like out and about, you can pick up leaflets, and you know, people send you postcards or pictures and wrapping paper and all that kind of lush stuff. Makes great collage fodder. So I keep all that and just kind of keep it there ready, so that if you're going to be using, you know, if you know what sort of colours and things you want for a month, or this kind of vibe or theme you're going for a month, then you can go back into that little bag of treasures and use it. So it's a good idea to kind of start, if you want to use collage. I know lots of people don't use any collage, they don't stick anything in at all, but I do tend to use quite a lot of collage, so I like to collect that kind of stuff. So have a think about whether you think that's something that you like to do, and if it is, start collecting. I also like to kind of press flowers and herbs and things and pop them in as well. So yeah, that's something. And then something else that I do use with my journal, it doesn't actually go in my journal, but it's something that I use, so I should mention it, is that every month, which you'll probably know if you've been watching these videos before, I have like a deck of the month. I have a tarot deck which I use for my daily draws. So if you're wanting to do daily draws, obviously you're going to need a deck, whether that's tarot or oracle, or you know, you could use runes, whatever it is you want. And I also use this deck, which I love, to do I have a stone which I connect with each month as well. And I think next year I'm considering having a plant that I connect with each month as well, and seeing how that kind of ties in overall to the theme of the month. I've already got a few plant-based decks, quite a few plant-based decks, so I'll be using those as well to draw from. So I think that is it for the actual resources that I use. I did want to just say something very briefly about making it sacred, making it special. I mean, there's something so special anyway about having any item that we use every day, that we literally, you know, coming to every day, becomes very charged up with our energy and our power and our intention. Just by kind of writing things in a book every day makes it very special. So you've already got that, but you can kind of take that to another level by having a little blessing ceremony or a consecration, however you want to look at it, for your book, and also for your tools if you want to as well. You know, just as you would with other tools you're going to be using in a magical context, you might bless them or consecrate them before you use them. I like to do that with my book. I don't tend to do it for my tools. You might also want to make, like, you could write a little blessing and have it. Raquel, actually, the Barefoot Taurus, she's done a gorgeous bullet journal video. I'll link that. I'm going to make like a playlist for bullet journal people who are doing journals linked with this series. So I'll add her video to that playlist. And she had a beautiful letter that had been sent to her with a gift. and she stuck that on the inside of her journal, and I thought that was really lovely as well. So you can actually stick in a blessing, or if you wanted to, you could draw like a sigil in there. You could draw a sigil in there with like with something that will be invisible, so you could use like lemon juice or something like that and put it in there, or you could draw it out with pen and then stick something on top of it so that it's kind of hidden away in there, but you know that that's your journal, you know, that's your special protection. That's another thing that people sometimes do with diaries as well, is that they will put like a protection on there so that to keep it safe from prying eyes. So that's another thing to explore. Perhaps you might want to have like a protective charm over it that will incline people to return your diary to you if it is found. So yeah, that's just something to think about as well, about how to kind of make those resources that you're using special. Another thing that I do while I'm actually at my journal is I always light a candle. I always have incense burning, and it just kind of puts me in that sacred sort of special spiritual mood while I'm journaling as well. So those are things that help to create the atmosphere for this kind of magical work. So I hope all that is useful. I'm sure I will have missed things out, and because I'm making more videos today, then hopefully I'll remember to add them in at a later date. But for now, I think that is everything. Any questions, please do ask them down below and I'll do my best to answer. Warmest blessings. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you very soon.